Hey, everybody, welcome to the BA Zone's pre-show. Oh, nope, it's the live show. Wonder, it's 8 o'clock. Hey, everybody, I'm glad to be back. I've been out for a little while. I had some back issues, and Kathleen's been kind enough to take over for me. And thanks for joining us on a Wednesday night. If you're just joining us for the first time, we normally broadcast on Tuesday, but we were celebrating my mother's 92nd birthday. Happy birthday, Mom, if she's watching. I hope I got those longevity genes. I certainly got all the other crappy genes. But that's a conversation for another night. In tonight's show, we're going to be talking about finding unexpected requirements using the art of conversation, a show everyone can use before conversation goes the way of cursive writing. But just before we start that, I'm Marianne Morrison, and Kathleen Sinnott is managing our production booth. And together we are the BA Zone. If you have any questions or comments during the show, don't be shy. Just jump right in. Or if you just want to hang with us and maybe pick up some polite dinner conversation, that's fine too. Everybody's welcome. So make yourself comfortable, relax, open your mind while Kathleen kicks off the show's intro. Okay, finding unexpected requirements. As business analysts, we use a variety of techniques and tools and approaches to acquire the information that we need. And we've gotten a lot of requests around how to interview people and how do I create a list of questions that will quickly tease out requirements from users. What sort of questions should I ask? And are there right or wrong questions? We think that everyone is so focused on what to ask that they actually neglect the more important skill of how to ask. And when it comes to questions, there's no magic bullet. There's no list of right questions. The right question is really a series of conversations that form the right answer for right now. And I say for right now because business is not static. It can't be if it wants to be competitive. So tonight we're going to focus on the entire conversation, not just the questions. So what really makes up a really good conversation? I'm sure if you think about it, you can remember a time when you had a really good conversation with someone or a group of people, so good that you remember it to this day. And hopefully tonight will be one of those. What made that conversation so great? I mean, it might have been the people, it might have been the subject matter or the circumstances, but they probably have three things in common: curiosity, momentum, and balance. Curiosity is that sense of wonder, ideas of things that make you go, I never thought about that, or I never considered it from that point of view, and now I'm curious and I want to explore it. So curiosity is this great catalyst for a great conversation, and great conversations generate innovations. When we're talking about momentum, conversations start off like an appetizer, something simple, whet the palate. And with each course, the conversation builds and people become more relaxed and animated all at the same time, discussing different points of views and opinions. And then the ideas start flowing like good wine. And the conversation turns to creativity and problem solving. And it ends on a sweet note, creme brulee, and everyone is satisfied. Is anyone else hungry? I'm feeling very hungry. I should have eaten before the show. Kind of heavy on the food analogies, but you get my meaning. That momentum that just sort of builds when everything is clicking and everybody's talking and sharing information and not talking over each other. And that's where the balance comes in. The balance keeps everything from going off the rails. It's that complement between speaking and listening. When it's done right, it flows naturally and almost effortlessly. I call it the Fred and Ginger effect. And yes, I like a good analogy because it helps people to remember what we're talking about. And of course, when I'm talking about Fred and Ginger, I'm talking about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. They were dance partners in many films, whether you've heard of them or not, back in the day of Hollywood. And if you watch them dance, it's like watching a moving conversation. They are totally in sync, sharing information, picking up on each other's cues, responding to one another, leading, following, transparent, and elegant. This level of trust didn't happen overnight, but I bet it took a really good conversation or two. So those are sort of the three components, aside from people and subject matter, that gives you this atmosphere of the ability to create and maintain a really good conversation. So before we get into how you can foster or facilitate that curiosity, momentum, and balance in your conversation to reveal some unexpected outcomes, I just want to take a really quick minute here in the beginning of the show to welcome all our newcomers to our community. A big round of applause. Big round of applause. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. And if you haven't done so, we invite everyone to sign up for our mailing list so you can be the first to find out about upcoming events, classes, and free stuff. And we only collect minimal information, and we don't share that information with anyone. And you can also like and follow us on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, just subscribe and hit the little bell icon. You'll be notified when we go live. So, join our community and help us make it a place where we can share our experiences and give each other a hand, because that's what we're here for. So we're talking about creating great conversations that instill this curiosity, have momentum, sense of balance. But how do we actually foster or facilitate these conversations to get the information that we need for our requirements? And a lot of times the users don't know what they need. We're not sure of the questions to ask. So we have to take this from this more holistic approach of a conversation. The first thing that we always do as BAs, I say it again and again, is planning. We always start with a plan in everything that we do. The best interviews or conversations that have been, televised throughout the years, they didn't just happen. They took planning and preparation in order to make it look like it was effortless. So you need to do your research. You don't want to ask questions that can be answered by you doing some legwork and finding those answers somewhere else. That's number one, because there's nothing more frustrating than having to answer questions that are already out there. It doesn't set the tone for any type of conversation, really. And you really need to decide what you need to know. And this is the part where you are going to create a list of questions. And I would recommend that you don't, make more than 15, 15 at the most. No one is arguing that the more questions you ask, the more information you're going to get. But some of the best information is obtained by this more subtle approach of having a conversation and not a rapid fire, question response, question response. So you want to start off with the set of high level, open-ended questions and let the conversation evolve and provide specific questions that you wouldn't have even thought of prior to the conversation. And by open-ended questions, I mean they don't have one-word answers like yes or no. So an example would be, can you describe for me? Can you walk me through this? Can you explain in a little more detail? That provides an opening for a user, the interviewee, to sort of expand and give you more information and get into a rhythm of answering the type of questions. Before you start asking all of these questions, you want to sort of be a human being and make them feel good. You want to begin and end these conversations, what we call small talk. You never want to start off right away with these questions. It doesn't have to be a chore, and it shouldn't be a chore. As a BA, you're the user advocate, so you need to ask them how they're doing, how they are. You want to make notes to yourself of events in their life, what their pet names are. Have they been anywhere traveling or anything that is a key to a connection with that person? When you can connect with someone, you're going to have a much better, both of you will have much better experience, and you'll get better information. So it's all about that, just that connection and connecting. And we do this because it, our little brains are keyed up that, emotions are connected to our memories. So you want this to be a good experience for them, because guess what? Eliciting requirements isn't a one and done, it's an iterative process. And you want to build that rapport with people that you're going to have to go back to. And you don't want them remembering, oh my God, she's coming back. She's coming back with all these boring questions. No. So you definitely want to start off with, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Anything new with the job? Anything kind of small talk, anywhere where you can find a connection. And you can find common ground. Just have to talk a little. You just have to have a conversation. And it doesn't have to be a long conversation. It's just a human conversation before you get into the details of the job. Another thing that you want to do, three on the list, to enable this small talk, you also have to share. Now, there's a lot of BAs out there who don't share anything about themselves. They ask small talk, they ask questions of the user, but they don't have that give and take, that Fred and Ginger. You got to have that Fred and Ginger going on. So you want to make them feel comfortable. So you need to share and be transparent to gain someone's trust. If you share your likes, your experiences, you're bound to find something in common with that other person. And that's what you're trying to connect with. You're trying to build that trust in order for you to have those deeper conversations, so that that person feels really comfortable that they can tell you anything and talk to you about anything, because that shared experience might trigger an unknown user need. And that's that hidden requirement that you're looking for, that you may have not gotten just by asking those 15 questions. Those just that rote question list. You've got to get into it. So it might spark something in the user's daily task or flow that you wouldn't have known about. You wouldn't have known to even ask about it. So you want to share so that you can get that feedback and that trust from the other person. Be complimentary, be polite, be nice. Everybody's on a deadline. So sometimes it'll come off as very brusque that we're like asking these questions very fast. So you want to take a step back and remember to be polite. Even if they're a total jerk, you still got to be polite. Ask for their opinions and advice is one way of being complimentary and polite. They have what you need. You only have assumptions to go on, and they may be correct or they may be incorrect assumptions. So ask for advice or opinions, and that makes that person feel like they are in control. And at this point, they pretty much are. They have what you need. So you got to be nice to get it. Number 5 is listen more than you talk. A lot of conversations can be one-sided, which isn't a conversation really at all. Really, it's just sort of somebody just blah, 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 blah. So you want to make sure that you're giving them space to think. You're not jumping on something that you've asked them and they're 2 seconds into an answer and you're going, oh, but what about this? Oh, I understand what you give them a minute, just step back, ask the question, let them think about it and let them finish, let them get out, make notes as they're talking so you don't have to override or jump them. But listen more than you talk, just zip it, brother or sister, zip it. Number 6, sometimes when you're having a conversation and you as the interviewer is responding to something that the interviewee is saying, you might inadvertently influence how they respond to your next question. And it's sort of unconsciously, it's not a conscious thing. And it's happened to me before, and I try not to do it. Someone will say something, I'll say something like, that's a great idea. Well, now, if they're anything like me, I'm sort of a people pleaser. I like to please people. I like to see them happy and everybody positive. And if you said something to me like that, great idea. I said, oh, well, maybe that's the path that they want to go down. So I'm going to give them more of the same. And it may not be appropriate at all. It might be sending that person down a path that they would not normally go down, or say something just in order to please you. And it's really subconscious. It's on a subconscious level. It's very done innocently. Um, so you have to be careful of that, trying not to influence the conversation by what you say. You might get all excited, like, ooh, I have a solution for that. You want to pipe that, zip that down, and don't try to influence the rest of the conversation, because you're not going to get what you need. You're going to get what you already have, an idea in your head, and not what you actually need. So that leads right into number 7, which is don't provide solutions. It completely stops the flow of conversation. If they're talking about something and of how something is not working, and right away you say, well, it could do this, we could have it do this, and right away that sets them on a different path, and you may not get any additional information that really would have set you on the right path. So you just try not to provide solutions during the conversation, or you'll miss some of those hidden requirements that you might have gotten had you not done that. Number 8, be helpful and empathetic. We've said this before. You are the advocate of the user. So your job is to be helpful to them and make sure that they get what they need, not necessarily what they want. There's a great TV show on right now called New Amsterdam, if anybody's watched it. Excuse me. And the catchphrase of that show, the medical director, he's always saying to his staff, how can I help? And he'll basically do anything against the rules, whatever, to help them. But that is the approach, not to the detriment of the project, obviously, or the product, but you really want to be helpful. You want to be there for these users. So try to do that. Try not to impose what you think they should be doing, but actually be helpful to what they actually need. And number 9 for a good conversation, as someone is speaking or as they're finished speaking, it's always a good idea to either paraphrase or summarize or rephrase what they've said to you, so that there's an understanding of what has been communicated. So it does a couple of things. It proves that you're actually listening to them. They always want that sort of confirmation that you're actually hearing, you're listening and you're hearing what they're saying. It'll help reduce any type of misunderstandings. And it also sort of may open up a window for the user to add more, because they're used to saying this all the time. They speak. When they have somebody else say it back to them, either rephrased or summarized, it may trigger some other small detail or hidden requirement that would not normally be found had you not done that paraphrasing after a piece of information has been delivered to you. And you can always, number 10, you can always in a conversation ask for examples to help you understand a concept or a problem. It's our job to ask questions. We have to ask questions all the time. So if you're somebody who thinks that it may make me seem like I don't know what I'm doing if I don't ask these questions, you're in the wrong business, because, BAs have to ask questions. We don't know everything. If we do, again, we're assuming. That's never a good thing. So, but just to clarify that type of stuff, if you can understand, if you need understanding, if you need further information, you cannot be shy. You have got to deal with the fact that, yes, you don't know everything, Dorothy, and you have to ask questions, ask for examples, clear up the concept or the problem. So those are some of the things you can do in order to keep that balance and momentum and that curiosity going. And you'll find, instead of these question and answer questions, you'll find you get a lot more in detail, in-depth, deeper conversations You'll find out a lot more information than you would think you would have if you just loosen up, keep it light, relax, slow down. I mean, today with the sort of um, catch and release that we constantly do, right? Where it's like get a feature out, work on the next feature. No one has time to be curious anymore. No one has time to really flesh out um, ideas and innovations because it's just sort of this rapid fire. Let's get it out there, see if it sticks, and then we'll sort of fix it, which is great for startup companies. But as your product matures, you really have to mature your techniques along with it. So and a conversation is the great way to do that. So I'm going to take just a little break here and check. Hey, Jason. Oh, Jason, how you doing? We haven't seen you in a while. Hope everything's okay. And John is wishing my mom a happy birthday. Thanks, John. Yeah, I hope you'll be wishing my 92nd birthday someday. That'd be fantastic. Although I don't know. Again, those genes can be tough. Alrighty, so that's tonight's show, and we hope you found this information helpful. And if you're watching us later on a replay and you have any questions or suggestions for future shows, this show came from a suggestion from someone. Just go to thebazone.com and drop us a line. And you can also find us in all the usual places, and Kathleen will put that slide up for you. And you can find us at thebazone.com and Twitter at the BA Zone, Instagram.com, the BA Zone, Periscope.tv, the BA Zone, Facebook.com, the BA Zone, and YouTube.com, the BA Zone. So listen, so when you're out there and you're looking to interview someone, don't be focused on the questions. Focus, again, there's no magic bullet for these questions, right or wrong. Just focus on the conversation. Have a really great conversation. You can practice conversations on anyone. I mean, you can sit next to someone on the bus and strike up a conversation and start to practice having cold conversations with people. If you're going to a client, you're going to have a cold conversation. You may know nothing or minimal information. Contractors know this, consultants know this, certainly. So, start practicing these techniques and asking questions, waiting for responses, and then responding to that. And you'll be okay. And it's really tough having a conversation with all of you because, we only get responses sometimes on the text. So I'm having a conversation. I feel like I'm having a conversation with myself, although I know I'm talking out there to everyone. And anyway, I hope you have had a great time tonight. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Now it's Wednesday, don't forget. So we're back on our regular schedule next week. We'll be back on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Same time, same place, and we hope to see you there. And I'm happy that I'm able to be here, and I'm sitting upright for 20 minutes, and I can still sit here for 20 minutes without too much pain. So that's a beautiful thing. Okay, everybody, I digress. Have a great night and a positive, productive week, and we'll see you next week on the BA Zone Live. Good night, everybody. Take care of yourselves.